Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and today we have part 6 of this new series that we started on the channel where I go over 13 different cars of a certain category under every single budget from $25,000, $20,000, $15,000, $10,000, $9, $8, $7, $6, $5, $4, $3, $2, and $1,000 so that everybody that's looking for one of these cars, no matter what kind of budget you are, has at least one car to choose from. But most likely you're going to get a couple because if you have like a budget of $5K, then obviously you can get the $5K car, $4K car, $3K car, $2,000 and $1,000 car. But either way, this is a new series. You guys seem to absolutely loved it. We did sedans, coupes, JDM cars, trucks, and hatchbacks as of right now, I think. So let me know what other ones that you'd like to see in the comments below. It's a fun little twist. I do so many cheap budget car videos, and it's just getting a little bit, I feel like, repetitive in a way. So I wanted to switch it up a little bit. I like doing these videos. You guys like watching them. And so I want to keep doing them, but I wanted to switch it up so that it's not the same content with the same cars over and over and over again. And I think you guys enjoyed this, so it's pretty good. Without further ado, let's get right into the list with the first car, the first drift car, for less than $25,000. So for less than $25K, I believe that the Ford Mustang GT S550 is a wonderful choice, Franklin. The reason why I believe this car is so good is because it's just freaking that good. Okay, there's so many, if you watch any sort of Formula Drift, any sort of professional drifting, and not just the grassroots drifting, but the actual professionals, they use these cars. Now, a lot of people would find it kind of silly to spend $25,000 on a drift car in the first place. And I would agree with you on that, but if you have that budget and you're willing to spend it on a drift car, this is an amazing option. They come with a 5-liter V8 making 400 horsepower, and they are rear-wheel drive. They can make an insane amount more horsepower too, and a lot of these cars on this list, by the way, are cars that are really good for engine swaps, and then once you swap the engine, they become good. Not this one. It just comes with a good engine right out the gate, so you don't have to worry about the engine swap. Now, obviously, like I said literally like 2 seconds ago, this is very expensive for a drift car, and I don't recommend spending $25,000 on one single drift car. But if you're crazy enough to do it, I mean, it wins Formula Drift for a reason. For less than $20,000, we're gonna go to the typical drift cars now with the Toyota Corolla AE86. The rest of these cars on this list, even though the Mustang GT is technically a pretty basic drift car, the rest of these are probably the cars that you guys were looking at, you know, the JDM rear-wheel drive, old import cars that don't make a lot of horsepower. The A86 actually comes with a 1.6 liter inline-4 making 128 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. The car was really cool when it came out, but if I'm being 100% honest with you, I never watched Initial D, so I really don't understand the hype behind this car. But it is a drift car. People drift these a lot. There's tons of aftermarket support for them. They're obviously a very good platform for it because people aren't spending this kind of money on this car just for clout. They're doing it because it's a good car. So for less than 20K, would I really recommend spending $20,000 on a Corolla from the 80s? Personally, I wouldn't buy it, but if you're a fan of them, then I can absolutely understand it. However, for less than $15,000, you can find a wonderful Toyota Mark II JZX 90. This is pretty much a Chaser JZX 100, but a little bit watered down. Doesn't have the same motor in it, doesn't make as much power, but still a very good option. And you can find these already imported on like Facebook Marketplace for like $9,000 in perfect condition. It's mind-blowing how cheap these cars are. They come with a 2-liter inline-4 making 160 horsepower, and they are rear-wheel drive. The looks are definitely not for everybody. They also are a little bit longer, so they have a longer wheelbase, and so that can be a little bit more difficult to learn how to drift on. So if you're looking for like a first starting drift car, probably not the best choice, but everything else is amazing about it. People drift these things all the freaking time, and like I just said before, they're like pretty much the JZX 100 Chaser's little brother. If you like the JZX 100, you'll probably like the JZX 90 Mark II. It's a good car. For less than $10,000, however, we're going to go over to one of the most popular drift cars in all of the world, the Nissan 240SX S14. The S14 is really, really expensive nowadays, and I don't expect it to get much lower than $10,000, and it's even hard to find it under 10K now too, which kind of sucks. So if you are looking about getting one of these, definitely get it soon. They come with a 2.4 liter inline-4 making 155 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. However, that motor is called the KA, so yes, it only makes 155 horsepower, but there's ridiculous amounts of mods for it, especially if you're going into the drifting community with this car. It's going to be the easiest to build. There's so much out there for aftermarket support, and there's so many people in the drifting world that have these cars that can help you build it, and it's also going to be one of the easiest to learn on. These S chassis cars are, you know, famously good at being good starting drift cars, so it is very expensive for a drift car, but if you buy like a cheap destroyed kind of clapped out one, which is fine because it's a drift car anyway, then it's worth your money. For less than $9,000, we're going to go with a little bit of a underrated one in my opinion, the Toyota Cressida MX-83. Now, in terms of the actual drifting community, this car is not underrated, but if you're not like already a part of the drifting community and you don't know all about that kind of stuff, you've probably never even heard of the Toyota Cressida. Like, this car is not really talked about. They come with a 3-liter inline-6 making 190 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. Correct, I might be a little bit biased towards it, but after I tell you everything about this car, I feel like it's going to be impossible for you to argue that it's not a good drift car. I mean, it just has literally everything you could possibly ask for in a drift car in this package. It comes with a 3.5 liter V6 making 306 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. Over 300 horsepower out of the gate is already a very good start. Rear-wheel drive is obviously needed, and you can find them with a manual still pretty easily because there's still a lot of 350Zs out there. On top of that, there's a bunch of options for you. So if you have $8,000 in budget, you can buy either a really broken down crappy one for like 4K with a salvage title and then build it up to be an even better drift car with the remaining 4K, or you can buy a very nice perfect one for the $8,000 but not have as much room for aftermarket support. On top of that, the 350Z comes stock with a limited slip differential, which is incredible for drifting, and now it means you just don't need to weld your diff. It's just all around a really good drift car. There's a reason why every drifter buys one of these at some point. For less than $7,000, the Mazda RX-7 FC 3S? FC3S? Yeah, FC3S is a great option, my friend. Yes, it has a rotary. Yes, it's a little bit unreliable, but guess what? Guess what? It's a drift car. Okay, you're not worried about reliability, you're worried about fun. And that's what the FC RX-7 offers, is a whole heap loads of fun. They come with a 1.2 liter, 2-rotor rotary engine, making 160 horsepower, and they are rear-wheel drive. Now, yes, I understand that motor is not the best motor out there, but it's pretty cool. You're gonna have the best sounding motor at the track, that's for sure. You're gonna hear that brap, brap, brap noise. It's gonna be awesome. They also look really cool. They have a very lightweight body, and they have a very small wheelbase too. They also have obviously tons of aftermarket support for them, especially in the drifting world. And if you don't like drifting, I know this is a video about drifting, but I just want to include this. If you don't like drifting, the FC RX-7 is also an amazing car for just like a race car. It's just a good car all around. For less than $6,000, I need a water bottle because I'm really thirsty, but we're going to finish this one up. It's a Nissan 240SX S13. The S13 is the little brother to the S14, but in my opinion is much better than the S14 in every way, and it's significantly cheaper than the S14, so I honestly don't understand why you wouldn't buy the S13, but either way, it comes with the same motor, a 2.4 liter inline-4, except it makes a little bit less horsepower at 144 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. The motor is still the same in terms of everything else, so you can still get it to around the same horsepower numbers. It's pretty... KAs are KAs, you know, you're not going to have too much trouble getting them to like 300 horsepower. Once again, they're just as good, if not better, honestly, to learn how to drift on as well as the S14. And even though these are getting really overpriced, I still do believe that these are a very good option for somebody that's just now starting. Yes, you can find S13s for 9K, but you can also still easily find them for less than 6K. They are overpriced, I'm not going to lie. Like, they used to be like $1,000 and that was a good price for them, but they're still a good option. For less than $5,000, we're going to go to a little bit of an underrated one that, if I'm being 100% honest, before I did research for this video, I didn't even know this car was under 5K. It's the Mercedes-Benz 190E. Not the 190E Evo that everybody knows and loves with the big wing on the back and it was an amazing race car. Just the 190E. I didn't know these were so cheap, and it makes me so happy that they are. They come with a 2.3 liter inline-4, making 158 horsepower, and they are rear-wheel drive. A lot of people in Russia seem to drift these things, from what I can tell. I was looking it up, and Russians drift the weirdest cars. I just want to, they just like this weird boxy sedans. They love them, like Volvo 240s, old Mercedes-Benz, Ladas. They drift those things. But either way, I sadly can't tell you if this car is good or not. I haven't heard a lot about the 190E, but from what I can tell in the videos that I've seen, it looks like an absolute blast to drift, so have fun with it. I don't know if the motor's good or not, but it looks pretty good. A lot of Russians drift them, and like I said, they drift cars like the Volvo 240 and the Lada, so they have good taste. For less than $4,000, however, we are going to the boy. The Mazda Miata NA or NB. Either one is a very good option in my opinion, and they both are under $4,000 nowadays. Just like I said before with the S13, yes, these cars are overpriced nowadays, and they used to be much cheaper, but that doesn't mean that they're not a good option for less than 4K still. They come with a 1.8 liter inline-4, making 135 horsepower, and they are rear-wheel drive. In terms of straight up, like, performance, in terms of speed, not the best. If you're going to tracks that have like very long mangy, straightaways that you're gonna have to link together, yeah, these probably won't be the best drift car. But if you're going to very short tracks, which are most drift tracks with a lot of corners in them, they'll handle just fine. They have enough power for that. They can stay sideways. This is definitely not the easiest, despite what people think. It is not the easiest car to learn how to drift on, but once you get it, it's an absolute blast. Plus, any performance mod to a Miata just automatically makes it so much faster because of how light it is. For less than $3,000, we're going to one of the best drift cars out there, the BMW 325i E36. We talked about in my video about cars that everybody else likes, but I don't like. We talked about the E36 in there, but don't worry, buddy. I'm still putting my biases aside and giving you guys just genuinely good options. And the E36 325i is just a genuinely good option for less than $3K. It comes with a 2.5 liter inline six, making 192 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. Very decent horsepower number for a very lightweight car. So many freaking customization options, and there's a lot of E36s for under 3K too, so you do have a lot to choose from. It's not like you're picking and choosing just the crappiest of cars. There is going to be mostly crappy E36s for under 3K, but you could probably luck out and find a decent one. On top of that, it doesn't really matter anyway because it's a drift car, and if you're buying a drift car for 3K, you probably don't care about the quality that the car is right now. You probably just want to have a little bit of a thrash monster, and the E36 is perfect for that. They're so good. Now, for less than 2K and for less than 1K, it's going to be damn near impossible for you to find any good option for a drift car, but the Lexus SC400 can be found for under 2K sometimes, so it's here at the 2K spot. The car comes with a 4-liter V8 making 270 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. It's actually one of the highest horsepower numbers of this list, and it's absolutely a good option if you can find one. But the problem is a couple of things. A, this car is very heavy. B, this car has a very long wheelbase, just like we talked about before with the Mark II, that is not very beginner friendly. C, this car is only offered with an automatic transmission, so most likely you're going to find one with an automatic transmission, unless you find one that's already swapped, but that's probably not going to happen. So then you have to swap the transmission to manual yourself, which is going to take a while. And the worst part of it all is the SC400 was built for luxury, not really built for handling or anything like that. So you do have to do a lot of modifications to this thing to get it to actually be a very good drift car. So it's definitely a little bit of a project car, an investment, if you will, but it is still a rear-wheel drive car. They do drift these cars, and you can find them for less than 2K. Don't expect a beautiful one, though. For less than $1,000, you can buy CarX Drift Racing online, and then you can drift in that. But if you want to actually drift in real life, I guess you can get the Ford Crown Victoria. It's an option. I mean, it's there, it exists, and it can be found under 1K. Is it a good option? Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say it is, but I'm not gonna say it's not either. It's just there. It comes with a 4.6 liter V8, making 235 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. It has a lot of questionable things about a car for less than 1K. A, rust. There's probably going to be a lot of it. B, is the motor, is it healthy? Probably not. It's gonna be, once again, just like the SC400, a massive investment. Also, finding a manual Crown Vic for under 1K is probably impossible, so an automatic is your best option, and that's also just going to be even another bit of an issue. I recommend, if you are at the price range of 2K to 1K and you're looking for a drift car, I honestly recommend saving up just a little bit more until the $4,000 mark and buying one of the cars I offered there. The Ford Crown Vic still is a very good option for drifting, a very underrated one for sure, but just for less than 1K, I wouldn't even waste your money on that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of the 13 best drifty boys that you can buy under whatever budget that you could possibly need to have in this world. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Pretty soon, next week, from Monday to Wednesday, by the way, I'm going to be in New York visiting my sister, so there's a good chance I might miss one day there. I just want to warn you guys about that really quick before we get into that week and it just doesn't show up. So if I don't make a video on either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week, that's why. So I apologize. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know what other sort of every budget car videos that you'd like to see down below. And das vidanya. Have a nice night.